Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So a lot of people have been asking me, why did you decide to switch from medicine to go teach secondary school? And I'm gonna answer that in this video today. So I'm gonna give a little bit of context and we're gonna go for it. So stick around.
I'm Shamaine.
And I'm Rashad.
And we're the Prospers.
So in order to understand the decision that I made, we first need to go back a few years. So Shamaine and I, we started Cuba back in 2014. I landed in Cuba on the 28th of August 2014, and we did 1 year of Spanish, and then we did the following 6 years of the medical program. So she left Cuba in July 2021, and I left Cuba in August 2021. And shortly after, I went to St. Vincent. We got married. It was a nice little ceremony, just family and friends. We came together. Then we decided, to come, pack our bags, move back to St. Lucia. We had both applied for internship. I was accepted to do internship to start in September, but I could not do it because I just gotten married, and at the time that we were called to do the internship, we were called on the 28th, I think. Well, the 27th, because that was the day before my wedding. The 27th, and I was told, work starts on the 1st. I need to report on the 1st. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So can I be pushed back to the December? Initially, it sounded like it was not possible, but then, thank God it was possible. So then, afterwards, Shamaine and I, we came home. Shamaine started her application. She was missing a few documents, and she was finally able to get them around maybe October. And then she applied and she waited for the rest of October. She waited for November for a response. And then they responded to her maybe the third week in November, second to third week in November, and said, hey, we don't have a space for you up north, which is where your husband has been accepted to work and which is where you guys live. But we can offer both of you guys a position down south. We stayed down south from December 2021 until, the 1st of December 2022. During that time, we did internship, we did our 4 rotations. After everything was said and done, I had felt like I needed to take a breather to reorient myself, to organize life. Because there's something about when you go to school for 7 years, you come back home, you're working for a year, and as soon as that is done, you get back straight into a job that demands you to work more than a certain number of hours for a week. So we worked more than 40 hours a week. And you're doing this, and there's not really much time for you to kind of figure out yourself, figure out life, figure out just big people stuff. Adulting is not easy. There's no manual for adulting. You just kind of have to figure it out. So I decided to take the time off. Shamaine decided to go. She applied to work at the hospital up north, and I decided to take some time to just figure things out. And during the course of which, I ended up teaching at my alma mater, St. Mary's College, and I taught Spanish and biology for 3 months. When I told people I wanted to go and teach it, a lot of people thought I was crazy. A lot of people tried to discourage me. A lot of people were like, this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But then during the course of which, people would tell me, you look happier, you look at peace, you look like you're enjoying yourself. And I told them, yes, I am. During that time, I learned so many things, not just about myself, but about the teaching profession. And I feel like a lot of the times teachers are not recognized for the work that they do, nor is the profession as appreciated as other professions. But, being a medical intern for 1 year, we do our work schedules from 8 to 4. We occasionally have our calls during the week, and in some cases we do the weekend calls, where you enter on a Saturday morning, your call ends on the Monday morning. It became a point where you're pretty much just living to sleep and trying to catch up on everything and trying to balance spending time with your wife while trying to balance this medical life. And sometimes it was tough. There were times where in certain months we could not get our schedules to line up. where we would actually be at the hospital at the same time. So there would be times where she would be home, I would be at the hospital. Then when I go to the hospital, she's home. And then it started becoming, it was good more times than it was bad. But when it was bad, we had a really bad month that time. We spent about 18 nights apart. And I felt like, I really needed to spend time with my wife. I really need to kind of figure things out. So she went back to work, I went to teach. And let me tell you, teaching was amazing. So the first thing that I want to highlight about teaching is the hours for teaching were actually surprisingly amazing. Work started at 8:30 every day, ended at 2:30. We worked Mondays to Fridays. You get all your weekends to yourself, all your public holidays to yourself. It was a sports semester, so the days where there was sporting activities, it was no longer school in the academic form, but it was school in more like a sporting form. So it was not, prepare a lesson, come. You're obliged to show up, but it's a little bit more relaxing on the mind, the psyche. If it rains too much, if it just drizzles a little too much, teachers get the day off. And you don't teach for the entire day. You're scheduled slots for break. Well, the students are scheduled slots for break, 2 breaks for the day. And you end up benefiting in that because you get time to also have lunch. And you don't teach for all the slots for all the days of the week. So, sometimes I would find myself just sitting on the balcony, just appreciating the view, because when I was a student there, I did not appreciate, and it's very interesting. Sometimes you pass through these moments in time, you don't appreciate them, but you come back as an older version of you, and you're just like blown away by how amazing it is. And sometimes I would just sit there and tell God, thank you for just this opportunity. I really needed just some time to orient myself, to put myself where I need to be, to figure out like adulting, opening bank accounts, figuring out how to shuffle around a budget and really kind of put things into perspective. And I remember the first week that we started teaching, there was a conference, and one of the guest speaker at the conference came and she spoke about whatever it is that you decide to do, be it whatever profession that you're in, you are the product. You are the product. And I remember thinking, one of the main reasons that I decided to enter into medicine was because I fell in love with the practice of medicine. The practice of medicine is pretty much where it's to do no harm, and people come in with issues and diseases and stuff, and you're able to diagnose and treat and manage. In some cases, you could actually cure some of the diseases that these people come with. And to see how people react to it, I've had some great experiences as an intern. One day, some of the interns and I, we went out, we stopped somewhere, and this lady was like, "Hey doc, thank you so much for taking care of my mother." And I'm just like, you know what, you're welcome. And I didn't really know who she was because everybody had masks at the time, but it's like she remembered me and I didn't really remember who she was. But then she's like, you know what, I just want to give you guys, because we had stopped at an establishment to just get something to eat, and when we were leaving, she's like, that's fine, you guys don't have to pay, it's on the house. I'm just like, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And then like you said, there were some really good moments. Even I remember there was a case where there's a lady she's what we call a resident. Residents are patients who live in the hospital, for lack of a better word. And this lady came in, she had upper and lower GI bleed. This woman was, honestly, she was dying. Her hemoglobin was in 3. The lady was on her way out, and I saw a miracle happen where everybody had given up on this woman. And as a young physician, just seeing everybody, all the experienced physicians telling me, this lady's not going to make it to see the morning, it kind of really broke my heart. And then the morning came and she was there, and the following day came and she was there, and the following day came and she was there. And I even went to visit her last week, And the lady was still there, alive and kicking. And it just goes to show you, that is the beauty of the practice of medicine, where the doctors came together, they treated her, and she got better, and she started flourishing. She even put on weight. But around the practice of medicine comes the culture of medicine. It envelopes the practice of medicine. And what the culture of medicine has become lately has become very toxic, to the point where physicians are now committing suicide. Mental health issues are rampant in the physician community. Physicians are berated for not knowing certain things. Like, it's just the way that we as physicians have accepted treatment of our subordinates, or the way that we do treat our subordinates, or even as subordinates, the way that we just accept it because it's the pecking order. It's sad, because people are human beings, and not just because you're a physician means that you have the right to treat another physician in another way, to the point where you can sometimes destroy somebody's dream of being a physician just because you're a tough physician and you're trying to teach the younger physicians tough love. And I felt like that environment, for me, I was not ready for that at the time. Somebody actually once told me that I was too soft for it. They're like, yo, you're too good. Like, sometimes it requires you having a backbone and standing up to people and telling them what you have to tell them. But really and truly, that's not how I grew up. I grew up knowing that there's certain battles to fight, but there's some battles that are just unnecessary. There should never be a justification where somebody treats somebody in a certain way that is just honestly dehumanizing, and other people consider that to be normal. That's just how it is. That's just the profession. No, that's crazy. So over those past 3 months, I met with the students. We discussed life, we discussed Spanish, we discussed biology. They asked me questions that I didn't know the answers to, and I told them, hey, guys, let me go read up on this. I'll come back to you. We'd have these discussions, not just about school, but about life as well. Talk about what it's like to be a young man in society. Talk about creaming elbows and creaming your ankles. Don't come to school with unironed clothes. That kind of stuff. And I really started developing a love for it, and I was able to see, a lot of teachers had time. School ends at 2:30. You get to go pick up your kids in their primary school at 3 o'clock, and you get to spend quality time with your family. A lot of the times I've come to realize a lot of the students who stayed back after school was done at 2:30, ironically, were students of the doctors and a lot of professionals who could not come to meet their kids because work ended at 4, and in some cases for the doctors it ended after 4, and you either have to leave your child in school unattended until you're able to leave work to come, or you put your child in lessons that they may or may not need, just pretty much so that they can be occupied for the time that you're still working. And it is crazy. So during that moment in time, I just really learned a lot about myself. I was able to kind of appreciate the little things, appreciate having time. Time is an invaluable resource. There comes a point in time where time is more valuable than money, and it's important to also love what it is that you do. Sometimes you go from med school straight to working as a doctor, straight to specializing, and that's it. That's your journey. That's your path for the rest of your life, and it's not bad. Some people, that's the life that they chose and they love it. Other people, that's the life that they chose, they don't love it, but it's the life that they chose. But there's some people who get a very rare opportunity in life to experience something different. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. For all those who have been asking, why did you leave and what's the reason behind it, I wanted to reorient myself, to put myself in a place where I felt comfortable.